Yeah, well, it is 5 o'clock, so I call the March 10th Commissioners meeting to order. Let's start off with approving meeting minutes from March 1st.
I will make a motion, we approve the March 1st Commissioners meeting and non-public session meeting minutes.
I'd second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Hold on one sec. Marianne, are you hearing? All right.
Motion please on payroll and AP manifest.
I'll make a motion, we accept the payroll and AP manifests.
I brought them in, so
I'd second that
you
motion.
want to do them now, or you can do them
Yeah.
after.
Oh, yes, right.
Might as well sign them while we're...
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, yes. Oh, Paul's already signed, so yeah, send you that.
Okay.
The problem, Jason, will be when I give you control, I won't be able to see if anybody's waiting. So you'll have to be mindful of it, although I can't admit that it will only be during the meeting.
Yeah.
Or I can put you here, but it doesn't make any
Either
difference.
way, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Arms aren't that long.
Single check here for, oh no. Okay, so lots of signatures. New business. Any new business? New and old business. MRI training sessions update. We have a letter in front of us.
Well, you have a memo.
A memo.
It's for me.
Yes.
And so it would make sense for you to read it quickly.
Sorry.
Essentially, I tacked this in two parts. One is I met with everybody.
Yes.
Excellent.
Then I prepared what I'm calling the finance operation plan or priorities for 2022. What we need to get done in the 2022. The theory being that if we know what we want the outcome to be, that we can package the training.
Makes
So
sense.
the first part of this memo is my view of what needs to happen this year as far as the finance operation is concerned.
Okay.
And assuming you agree with that, this is what I propose after talking with MRI. It's not, it would be an invitation of them to give you a proposal for you to negotiate with them. I don't want to negotiate, obviously, I can't
Right.
negotiate with them.
Right.
Right.
So read the priorities.
Sounds good.
You have a copy, you can attach to the minutes, right?
I have a copy.
I have an extra one here.
We figure you read with both eyes.
I've got 4 eyes.
So these sessions will be for how-tos, how to do individual tasks that occur on a regular basis.
Well, if you...
I'm sorry I didn't have time to read the first.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but assuming that you agree with these 10 priorities, my theory is that the software is a tool that will be used to implement, to pursue these priorities.
Right.
It's intertwined throughout, but essentially the priorities are to achieve, it's, just kind of quickly. The MTS has nothing to do with transition of the payroll, but that's priority number one. We got to get the payroll transition.
Right.
Beyond that, then it's a series of accurately recording revenue, accurately recording expenses, accurately recording or tracking the budget and recording the budget, all of which has a component, an element of MTS involved, but there's also a series of policies and procedures, how do we do it internally to make that happen? And so, again, my theory is that if Kim and Heidi, and particularly Kim and Heidi, but Kim and Heidi and Jason understand how to use the software tool.
Right, it's the how-to.
Then there'll be a series of processes and procedures that'll be promulgated. For instance, Kim has already developed one for purchasing. And that one will then will be driven by the use of the PO module as part of it. But there's also a series of things that employees have to do. So she's drafted the policy. We'll meet with the employees and explain to them, they don't need to know how to use the software, they just need to understand the flow and how to fill out the PO form online, but they don't have to understand what happens and where it goes.
Right.
So,
Sort of like what we are doing, we just have to be able to get in there and we don't have to stick numbers in.
And so what you'll see in here with each of those is that, for instance, with receipt of revenues, there is a software piece, there's a human piece, somebody's got to receive the revenues, somebody's got to put it in the bank, the treasurer and somebody on the staff has to reconcile on a monthly basis to satisfy the office, and they have to sign off. And so the software is part of that, but is not all of that. And so there's training. Good news today, which will impact this, is that we've got a draft of the audit from Melanson, and I've set up an appointment for next Wednesday to do a walkthrough with them, Kim and I and Brenda.
Right.
But once that happens, then the auditor will be able to, our new auditor, who will then be our new auditor when the audit's done, will be able to then participate in the policies and procedures. So he'll be
able to say, okay, I think we need 3 people to sign off on this, not 2 or whatever. We'll get those procedures.
Right. There has been an issue with separation of duties.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And one of the challenges is that you can't separate if you only got one person. and so the bottom line of it all is that after getting input, talking with Kim, getting input from Heidi, who happens to be on vacation, which made it a little more interesting. But then talking with Christian and with Brenda, and getting some input from the auditor previously in terms of separation of duties. Mm-hmm. I said, look, this is what we've got. At the end of the year, this is where we need to be.
Right.
And so you'll see in some of this as an example, there's the training that we know what modules need to be trained.
Right.
The next step in all of this is for us to sit and decide what each training component is going to involve. Heidi's got to be part of that in terms of saying, okay, we're going to train on this module, and this module, and which pieces need to get through. I mean, Kim has come back to me and said, we feel like we got the PO under control and we got the accounts payable pretty much under control. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of effort necessarily needed in that.
I think we need a lot.
So, but there's other pieces that need to be weaved together. So, and the last piece, it's important, but it's not important today, it will be important in the fall, is you'll see, I've suggested we kick the budget module until October. Because one of the things I've learned with using computers, if you don't once you're trained on it, if you're not using it every day, by the time you come to use it, you forget it. Which I can do that automatically. So that's kind of the approach. I've reviewed this with Justin, I've reviewed this with Christian, I've reviewed it internally, I had Kim review it, and we all seem to be more or less on the same page that this will get us where we need to go. I don't
Well,
want to, I don't
yeah.
want to be, essentially what I'm saying here is if you all agree with the priorities, then all I need is authorization for me to go back to MRI and say, look, prepare a proposal with these assumptions and give it to the board, and then I'm out of it.
Well, number 10, if I might direct attention to it, about a financial cycle calendar flow chart. I can understand why that might be towards the end because, it's subsequent to training. However, in this year, we still need to accomplish things starting
Yep.
today
Right.
and every day. So the sooner we establish this.
But we need the new auditor first.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't think that an auditor is driving as much time-wise as he is process-wise.
Right,
Well,
that's true.
it is, but we can't train on that till,
We gotta.
we
Yeah, no, I understand- I
I didn't
understand.
know till today that we may have access to him sooner than I thought. I mean,
Right.
his position has been, he's not our auditor until we.
Yeah,
know
no,
our
understood, and that's a really critical,
auditor. Yep.
Right,
And so,
Point
that-
here.
and that piece is starting out, and it will start with the doing of the 2021 audit, which is the new auditor. And
Right.
the audit that we're reviewing next week is 2020. The new auditor is gonna lead us through a process essentially that says, show us how you want the audit done, and then we back plan to ensure that the
You
steps
guys-
that we're taking
Now,
throughout the year get us to the point that, what's the year-end closure process look like? What specific skills do we need to do that? How do we can we get them internally, or does that require an accountant? And so, essentially, when I prepared this, it was not knowing exactly when the 2020 audit was going to be completed, and until that's done, we don't have a new auditor, we have an existing auditor. So, but these are not necessarily carved in granite, but they are priorities from my perspective in terms of what are the most important issues. One is getting the money through the door and recording it. Why? Because we can't operate without money. So that piece, and then the next piece is tracking our expenses. One, to make sure that we know what we're buying and what we're putting together with the principles here, that we try, that every purchase has to be documented, no matter how big or how small. In most instances, unless you sign off with a selective purchase, if you will, or a directed purchase from a specific vendor, everything has to be, within reason, has to be competitively shopped.
right.
And so there are those principles. And then, the further down the list you get, it's not that these aren't important, but if we're not managing the cash,
right, you can't, it's stepwise,
yeah,
so.
it's a sequential.
Well, I mean, I guess it goes, the only other thing I might say is it goes without saying, I mean, this being a critical year, I'd like to hear some regular updates. I mean, I don't know what their process.
That's in here.
Okay, all right.
It's, one of the things. Number 3.
Yes, monthly report to commissioners, good. Glad to see it.
so are these prioritized in order, or
Yes.
this, okay,
Yeah.
that's,
They're in order in my head today. I mean, the world changes.
well, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
So, the new auditor comes on board, we may be able to move something up.
Yes.
But what I'm envisioning essentially is that the 4 of the 5 sessions, and there may be 3 or there may be 6, but the training sessions, the other than the budget one, will all happen between now and the end of April. That's the goal, is to get them
End
out
of
of the
April
way.
or end of May?
I don't know, what did I say?
June 1st.
June 1st.
Yes, well, we need,
Yeah, the-
I would think that we need, that sounds like a fairly decent time frame. We need to have a little extra time to make sure that it's all sunk in,
Oh, I know.
so that the employees are comfortable with it and they know what's going on. And if they have any questions, they can all be addressed, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, then that's part of what you've got to work out in terms of terms and conditions.
Right.
I mean, my understanding from them is they ain't going anywhere. But what they're trying to sort out is, what do we owe you? what are you gonna pay us for? And what are we providing under the terms and conditions? But one of the things that is kind of trying to make crystal clear in their minds is that there's a fee for software and tech support associated with the software.
Right?
Right,
Okay.
only software
Yeah.
stuff.
They're not providing any more financial office management services, and they'll provide whatever you want, but it's on a fee basis, not.
Yeah, no, that, no,
Yeah,
that's-
that makes sense.
That's fine.
We can't expect
And-
anything different than.
Yeah,
No, that makes perfect sense.
And, you know,
that's
again,
as of June, correct?
that's of whenever you all I need you to do is say you're happy with the top 10 priorities.
And then we'll
and then
negotiate with
they will
MRI.
prepare a proposal to you, which they'll get to you presumably within the next few weeks, and you can deal with it at your next meeting, hopefully.
Right.
And in the meantime, they've agreed we're gonna start planning and implementing the training
training.
sessions, so we
Yeah.
don't fall behind.
Yeah, Well, as long as the contract allows for, like time and materials for training, then, it's not like we're locked into X
right.
number of hours.
Right.
That's right.
And we're feeling like the need for an additional 1 or 2 or whatever. So
Yep.
as long as it's structured that way, I think
Yeah.
we can get through the year.
I'm good.
So,
Yeah, well, my concern is obviously there's a lot of training, in my opinion, still owed to us. I mean,
I got it.
I know you don't want to get into the weeds and all
Well,
this
and,
stuff.
and, you know, they'll
We have
share
to
their
be in the
view.
weeds once in a while, Don,
I know.
okay? As far as I'm concerned, and there's probably at least 32 hours worth of training.
Okay.
We didn't have anybody to train before other than Kim. Now we have a person to train,
Yeah.
so those 32 hours should be concentrated on them. They should be comfortable with the training. It should be, at their convenience as well as MRI's. I mean,
Yeah.
they gotta get together and so on and talk about it and get it done. And when they're done, they should feel that they've been trained and they're comfortable with the software. And if it has to go longer than that, and we have to pay for some of it later on, then maybe that's what we have to do. But I would like to know that they're comfortable with all this stuff.
Agreed.
Then that's why you'll negotiate the final agreement with them, not with me.
Okay,
okay.
Okay,
sounds like a plan.
sounds like a plan. Do we need to vote on this, or it's a?
No,
it's a
you don't.
thing?
Jason, you got something to say?
I
Yes.
guess I like to see the training proposal once it's available. And one of the issues I've had is determining what is actual technical support versus actual being, operations issues. If it's an operator issue versus a technical issue. How are we differentiating that? How are we knowing what is which? And how is MRI knowing what is which?
Yeah, well, I think once we get the training going and you have the write-ups of procedures of what to push, where to put the decimal point, how to make it work, then I think it's gonna come more down to, it's going to unfortunately be more operator error than it is going to be software error.
Are we gonna get to that level of detail though in the training?
You're not.
Okay.
I can tell you that. I'm
You're being hands-off.
Your job, as I see it, and I said this to you before, we don't come down to the plant and tell you how to turn the valves and adjust the caustic and all of this stuff. Your job requires you to be able to purchase and to be able to review your budget on a regular basis to make adjustments
Right.
going along, and to extract reports related to finance that allow you to do your job. One of the problems I've had, and the frustration, you like to monkey with stuff.
I've been doing far more than just that, so I just want to know the
Okay.
expectations from my end
Yeah, what-
in regards to the AP and the PO and all of that stuff.
Well, again, you have a role in initiating purchase orders, and you have a role in approving payables. And that I can do. I mean, I can teach you that, and you know that I can. I mean, those are things that I understand. The software is the tool to create the flow. But Kim has drafted and created the process, and we're all gonna follow the process. And there's an element of training for you in this. But the
Right.
training is not to be a finance manager. The training is to use the tool to follow the finance procedure to do your job. If you want to learn other stuff, that's ducky, but we're going to isolate you on your own computer, and you can't mess with the software. I mean, you can.
Not looking to mess with it.
I know.
I'm just saying that right now I'm heavily involved in the process, and I just want to know what the expectations are for myself.
Yeah.
Am I going to
Yep.
back out of the process further?
I don't see
or
you
not?
backing out of the process, but you'll be a customer.
Okay.
You'll be a user of the system, and you'll be a customer. And so you will need to tell Kim and Heidi, what is it, once they set up a procedure, you'll be part of the vetting of the procedure so
Right.
that it works for you. Because this is the finance office, you're a customer of the finance office, from my perspective. And so the system has to work to satisfy what you need to do in your role as a superintendent. And so some of the stuff you like to do, it's fine, but it's not part of the finance process necessary for the district. And so, I'm comfortable I can get you there. I'm just not an accountant, so I'm most concerned about getting the training for Heidi and Kim in terms of making the finance software do what it's supposed to do, and then the rest of us will follow instructions.
I mean, and, I
That
don't,
includes the commissioners.
Right,
You
and
gotta
I-
be-
yeah,
you
we gotta
be
know what we're
trained
doing.
And what buttons to push, but you have a very limited role. You can look at all of the stuff you want to look at. And so I'm envisioning over time, you want to know, gee, if I want to report on budget to actual for these things, how do I get that report? But in the short run, that's not an essential component. What is essential for you is that on a monthly basis, we're able to give you an in-depth financial report
Right.
that tells you where are we in terms of what we thought we were going to spend to
Right.
date versus
Right.
what we did, what we thought was coming in for revenue versus what came in.
and I mean, I don't think that it's a bad idea to have a backup. If Kim is sick or Heidi is sick or something and Kim needs help in the office and Jason happens to know how to put in AP or something, I'm just saying, it's not necessarily a bad idea, but hopefully by that time, we would have had the training under our belt and the procedures all written up so that we can't make mistakes.
Right.
That's
He's
the
computer
goal.
literate, so he should,
Right, that's the goal. We just don't, and me too, I went in the other day to do approve the POs, and then was like, okay, how do I view these? I can't figure out how to view them at all. once I sign them, I can't view them. They disappear into
Well, you should
the
bring your
ether.
computer though, but he's
I
not
will.
100% set up yet, so.
Okay.
Maybe you can't do that next step that I can do, but.
Yeah, I can
show
bring it
you on
in.
mine, or you
Yep,
can bring it
yep.
in, but
Yeah.
ours may be different.
Yep, and that's, so
Once-
right now, I think once we all get on the same page, we'll be good.
In my view, once Kim and Heidi are proficient, they can determine whether they can help us or whether we need another level of help above that.
Right,
But that's gotta be
exactly.
true for all of us. And my view is Kim and Heidi are in a finance chair, and that's what this is. I mean, it's finance management software. And so we need, once they're proficient, we then can say, depending on what role we fill, we need this information. And Jason may want to be able to generate that information himself. I don't, right? The less I have to use a computer, the better off I am. So I've reached the point now that I don't mess with stuff because I screw it up. So I send Kim a note, or I call Kim and say, please send me this. And that's where we need, from my perspective, we need to get to the level of proficiency in the finance office quickly.
I guess my question is, what are you messing up with there, Jason?
He
What do
doesn't,
you want to get into that you shouldn't be?
That's what I'm uncertain of, I guess.
Oh, okay,
Well,
well, that's a good answer.
Jason did kind of hint at a important point here, which I think needs to be a part of the contract with MRI, and that is some type of a log documenting the incidents or the time spent with us, because I'd like to hear whether it's tech support or whether it's training.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And because, there has been a lot of bad feeling here in the past couple of weeks about you know, you know, as to whether there is a problem with the software, or it's the code 18, as I like to call it. The problem is the person sitting 18 inches from the computer. You know, we need to know whether it's,
Right, exactly.
you know, what in MRI's view,
What constitutes what, and that's for us to
for the
talk
hour
to-
that they spent on such and such a day, were they providing support, were they providing training? And then the board needs to be able to review that. And I think that will just,
And you
Yep.
need to build the system in.
well, I mean, that's the harmony provision here, because, you know, otherwise,
I agree with you.
Yep,
Well,
exactly.
Put it in. I mean, my experience, and you've all heard me say this, is that I've been around long enough that I remember when there was a time when computers were the problem. Nope, software is the problem. Nope, the computer's the problem. And then the computer and the software people got together, and then the problem became the operator.
right.
And so it's this perpetual circle. And
so-
I can't
Well, we'll
fix that
figure it out.
circle. But you're right, it's about a harmony piece. But in the meantime, to me, the most important thing are those 10 priorities. By the end of the year, we have to be there.
Well, is everybody agreed? I mean, is our staff agreed with all this?
I've gotten everybody's input, but the only one I've asked to sign off more or less is Kim.
Okay. I guess,
Well, we haven't had Heidi's input, 'cause she's
yeah,
on
we
vacation.
should have Heidi's input as well.
You can, but she's on vacation.
Oh, I know
I
that,
mean,
but I don't
we
see that we have to rush into.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we can get the ball rolling and say, okay, you know, let's start getting a contract together, because we want to start getting that training done.
Well, true, yeah,
So-
that's a good point.
So if Heidi wants to input something that happens not to be addressed here, then,
Then she should. be able to
Right,
input.
exactly.
Well,
Right.
Heidi sent, I asked both Heidi and Kim before Heidi left for her comments, and you sent me your comments, which are incorporated in here.
okay.
Well, she might think about it a little while she's on. I doubt if she will, but
Let's hope she isn't.
she's having too much fun in Florida.
All
right.
There'll be some further interpretation when we sit down to try and
Okay,
essentially prepare the scope or the content for
It's
each
gonna
of
be
the
a
training.
negotiation. Things are gonna change when you negotiate.
Right,
These are the points
exactly.
you're trying to find and make sure you cover everything. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
give and take.
Well,
agreed.
onward and onward.
Okay.
If I may ask just quickly, were you able, Bob, were you
No, I
able?
brought it here.
Oh, you brought your computer, all right, so we'll look at that after the meeting, get you set up. But looks like next item on the list is
administration.
paychecks and payroll. So, I didn't mean to skip over administrator items.
no, I-
Figured
Nothing
this
there,
was
so.
I updated you on
Yeah, yeah.
the auditor, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the only thing I have to
Okay.
report on.
So, we're moving forward with paychecks. We've set a date for our first paycheck of April 8th, for the first week of April, and it will fall into the second quarter, so that's good timing for us.
Yes,
And we discovered through trying to get them information that just about everybody's W-4 is extinct. They don't use those anymore, and that's why we're
Yep.
asking everyone to fill out the new forms so that they can
new
have.
forms.
I know.
I do
they changed it
too.
dramatically.
It's
They suck.
ridiculous. I'm like, wait, there's not, half of the things I used to check are not there.
Right, so it's confusing that people are missing the dependent part, and so the guys at the plant have had quite a bit of questions, but it's very simplified, but you have to kind of think about whether, I guess the IRS is trying to make it so that everybody's pretty flat. You're not getting a big refund, and you're
Right.
not paying in a lot.
Right.
So you have to kind of weigh in whether you have other income that might influence that, and so take out extra
Right.
if that's the case, but they're now making it very, very simplified.
So they
Which looks
think,
complicated.
yes.
This is John. though. It's
Simplified.
other-
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
income
That's what
John.
they're telling you
They
today.
specify John.
Yes,
I don't have
so
John.
that's the need
multiple
for everyone to
jobs.
turn in the forms.
I don't
within the
have
next
any.
week or so.
All right,
Get them to
Social
paychecks,
Security
but
job.
they've been working with
No,
us, and
that's
we're
not
providing the
John.
information, and it's going smoothly.
okay, good.
excellent.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's not.
Superintendent, do you,
We,
you have,
Gary and I met with Wright Pierce earlier this week and went through the 90% plan comments. And over the last 2 days, we also met with DOT and DOT Railroad, reviewed their comments. So we have everyone's comments in now for the 90% plan, so Wright Pierce should be able to finalize those by the end of the month for Main Street, all the way up from Warren, down around Main Street, all the way up to Foster Street here, so, and the Force Main. So we're making progress. They're on target to have final design 100% complete by late April, early May.
Jason, who's the railroad contact?
The contact, Chuck Corliss or Lou Barker.
They're the railroad people?
Yes, yep.
Thank you.
So we're getting there.
Okay.
Excellent.
God.
And then that's gonna be packaged with HEB
Right.
for a master bid.
Right.
for lack of a
Right,
better
for the
description.
big monster bid packet.
Yeah.
And do we, as far as drafting the bid, is that entirely in Wright Pierce's corner there? I mean, is there any legal consultation on the drafting of the bid language?
At this point, it'll be a combined effort between HEB and Wright Pierce, because they're integrating two separate sets of plans into a single bid document. And so, to answer your question, I don't know, but I don't think so.
So it wouldn't be till we get to the contract.
Right, so we get to the contract
It's gonna
itself.
have to pass muster with both EDA and RD in rural development.
Right.
Okay.
And so,
How many more letters can you throw around?
Economic
the BS.
Development Administration, I know, it's frustrating.
No, it's the HEB, that's the one I'm not 100% sure of.
The engineers.
It's the engineering firm.
In Conway.
Bergeron.
Oh, yeah, Bergeron's Engineering,
I don't know
okay,
what
got
the
it.
H is.
Yep, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
The Hebert or something, like Hebert Bergeron?
Huh?
Hebert Bergeron? Is that
Uh,
something?
I don't remember. I think it was his first name, but I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fine, works for me.
Okay, so lastly,
I think he went by Ed, didn't he? Do you know? Did you know? You didn't know that?
I don't know.
It's not him anymore.
last up, the 13 purchase orders to be entered into the record. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we put the purchase orders into public record based on what we approved via email.
I'd second that.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
okey dokey.
Well, in absence of any public comment, we can move on to the annual meeting.
You have.
We can't.
I was gonna say,
We have to
but
Oh.
Unless Mary Ann has any public comment.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mary.
Right, we can't.
I'm sorry, you are,
That's all right, Chris. No love. No, I'm good. Thank you.
okay.
Yeah, and we
So we
can't
do
do
have
a
to
meeting
wait
until
till
6.
6
We have
Oh,
to
till
wait
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
All right,
have,
well,
we're missing a clerk and a moderator.
You have
All right, well then, that's
Clerk, a
5,
moderator, and 2 supervisors.
5:35, we'll adjourn this meeting.
Now you can.